Yo peeps, Sdafhaa here. We got a brand new patch notes, which means it is time for another patch note review. This is a hotfix that dropped like 2 days ago, I believe. Not too big of a patch, but I've heard from chat that there are some pretty notable changes here. So as usual, I'm gonna be reading through it, reacting and analyzing for the very first time, and telling you guys what I think from a caster's perspective these changes will do to the meta. So let's go ahead and get things started. From the designers, they say, we have noticed that the jungle area changes in a new patch have benefited some tank junglers too much. Therefore, we're reducing their jungling speed while boosting some underpicked EXP lane and jungle heroes. I do agree that tank junglers became a bit too strong because of the way they adjusted things. They kind of nerfed the most popular assassins and fighters, Harley and Leomord being the most obvious. And then they made it so that the jungle had a lot more value. Since you could hit level 1 off of any camp, it also meant that all camps have a lot more EXP. And so tank junglers are better because they can rotate around and steal camps more easily to get instant EXP leads. So we'll see what they've done there. Heroes with major changes, Esme, Nolan, and Aulus. I do feel like no matter what they do to Aulus, he's not gonna be meta. His archetype is just a bit too difficult to pull off, but Esme is interesting. But yeah, alright. Starting things off, we got a Baxia nerf, which I think is necessary. They definitely need to nerf Baxia Fredrin, maybe a Kai a little bit as well, but we'll see what they've done. So, Baxia skill 2 damage has been reduced by 20 early, 45 late, minus 20% magic power, and 1% target max HP. And then the max damage to creeps has been reduced as well. This is actually a huge blow. This is a huge blow because like Baxia skill 2 is where all of his damage comes from. Baxia is honestly one of the fastest tank junglers, not just because he rolls around the map, but because skill 2 actually clears camps really quickly even at level 1. So they've reduced the damage on that by quite a lot overall. It only does about 250 damage each now at level 1, which will slow down his jungling by a good bit. He's still solid in the way that he can rotate around the map, and his anti-heal is going to be very useful against sustain heroes, so I don't think Baxia will disappear from the meta, but he already wasn't really a hero you would see every single game. Like, he was popular enough, but you wouldn't see him every single game. And now I feel like we will see him even less, because a lot of his value as a jungler did come from how fast he was able to clear camps at level 1, right? Because when you play Baxia as a jungler, you actually really need to invade. Baxia's strongest strength, and more like a mandatory thing you need to do when you're playing Baxia, is invade and steal a camp or two. It's because he's able to like clear so quickly and roll into the enemy side of the map that he's able to do this, even against assassin heroes. So now he just doesn't clear nearly as fast. He'll probably still be okay, because as long as he gets a little bit of leash help, he should still be able to clear that first camp pretty quickly, hit level 2, and then start affecting the map. But the damage overall has definitely been reduced, and he was very oppressive before. I think he'll still do a good amount of damage now, so I don't think he'll completely take him out of the meta. I think we will still see Baxia picked up, but a little less than before, because he's just not as easily viable in the early game as he used to be. Because this is actually pretty major. Do I think this is a necessary nerf? I do actually think so, but I also worry that it may do more damage than we expect. Because I try my best to make sure like I predict whether or not heroes will go up or down meta-wise when I do these patch note reviews, but I cannot be certain. I have definitely made a lot of mistakes. Like previously, I thought that Argus was going to become viable, but after the patch, turns out he's actually worse, based on a lot of Argus mains out there. So I personally don't think this will remove Baxia. It will be a big hit though, so we'll see what happens here. But I do think that it was necessary to nerf him a little bit. So, alright. Next we have a Fredrin nerf. Slightly reduced Fredrin's jungle clear speed and early game durability. Okay. Minus 100 base HP on Fredrin is not really too big of a deal. Like 100 HP in level 1 does make a difference, don't get me wrong. But typically Fredrin is already tanky enough anyway that he should be able to deal with that. The bigger difference is a minus 30% damage against creeps on skill 1. That is quite notable because compared to Baxia and Akai, Fredrin's jungle clear at level 1 is actually kind of slow. Like he really doesn't do a lot of damage at level 1. So like Baxia and Akai will usually clear their camps a lot quicker than Fredrin does. In exchange, Fredrin is typically a lot more consistent in team fights. So now he does even less damage, which means that, yeah, it does seem like tank jungle clear speed, especially early on, is going to be negated somewhat. I can see this bringing back some of the assassins, especially if they don't nerf Suyo. I really hope they do nerf Suyo a little bit. I think he needs it. But if they don't nerf Suyo, he is going to become the top jungler. Now that like the tank cause like it was basically all tank junglers and Suyo, right? So if the tank junglers are getting nerfed and Suyo doesn't get nerfed, Suyo is going to be quite contested, right? So 30%, I would say personally, Fredrin's clear speed is fine. I think that they could actually try nerfing his mid to late game instead. Cause I already feel like Fredrin clears jungle about as fast as you'd expect a tank to clear jungle. It's just when you have to fight him that he's really, really annoying. Cause he's really tanky and then he can turn his damage back on you. I think it is an okay change. I'm pretty sure Fredrin will still be quite viable, but I do think that now he does need a bit more help from teammates to leash that first camp. Once he gets skill 2, he should be able to somewhat clear camps okay. And if he gets Molten Essence as well. I think someone mentioned that earlier. Jero said that as long as they rush Molten Essence, jungle speed should still be fine. I expect that to be the case. And it should balance out the early game a little bit. Makes you think like, okay, if I really want to clear jungle fast and start doing things, then I should probably play an assassin. And that is how the game is supposed to be. So okay, I can see this being fine. But I do feel like it's a less of a nerf compared to Baxia. Because I think Fredrin is a little less dependent on his jungle clear speed compared to Baxia. Because even if Fredrin doesn't invade, he can still make things happen. If Baxia isn't snowballing off of like his rotations and stealing camps, he actually does fall behind. So I feel like this will affect Baxia more than it does Fredrin. And that's not the best because Fredrin already was the best tank jungler for a very, very long time. Hello Nino, welcome to the stream. Okay, next up. Akai nerf as well. Reduce Akai's jungle speed but increase his burst damage as compensation. Passive, new effect. Basic attacks against Basic attacks against marked targets. Remove the mark? Oh, I don't like that. I think that's a bad idea. Oh. That actually, oh. How much damage did they give him in return? Hold on. I don't know who that is, no. Extra damage, 10 flat, 1% total? No. No. This is not good. This is a huge nerf. Akai's damage completely comes from whacking people with the mark. For those of you who don't understand what this means, it means that now when Akai, hits someone with his skill and they get the mark that increases the damage they take, that damage only applies to the first hit. Only the first hit will do that extra damage. So giving it extra 10 flat and 1% is not worth it. That is very little. This is on creep, so not on people? Hold on, does this apply to enemy heroes? That's the most important thing. That is the most. If it's, I feel like if it's on creeps, they really should have described it as only creeps. I need to see it. His skill marks targets his next basic attack against a marked damage. Mark target. No, it's on everyone. It does not say only on creeps. His skills mark target. Yeah, no. Does it say only on creeps? His skills mark targets. It says just targets, so that's everyone. It's not only on creeps, that's on heroes. So it means that anytime you mark anyone with a skill, only your next basic attack will do the extra damage. Which is a huge nerf. It means that Akai's clear just feels really bad now. Akai's jungle clear is really bad, his early game poke is really bad. Before this, you could there were many cases where you could play Akai EXP because he honestly traded so well with his mark passive, and now he just can't do that. He is purely a utility jungler now for that heavy spin. He'll still be valuable if tank junglers are still viable, but usually Akai is only picked up when tank heroes are very popular because he is meant to be a counter towards tanks. So if heroes like Baxia and Fredrin are gonna get reduced pick rates due to these nerfs, Akai is also going to be affected by that. That is also an indirect nerf to him. But this in itself is a massive nerf to him. So will this kill Akai? I would say that if it was purely this effect alone, it might not kill Akai because his utility is still very, very valuable. There are no other heroes in the game that can do what Akai does, even with the damage removed. But what Akai does is best suited for dealing with tanks. So if tanks become less popular, Akai will also be affected. But I don't agree with this effect. I personally think it is better to keep the mark, but maybe reduce the extra damage it does, instead of removing the mark and giving more damage for one hit, right? I think it's better to keep the mark, but reduce the amount of extra damage the mark lets you do. That would make a bit more sense to me, right? Because this feels like a bit too heavy-handed. Personally, I think that Akai might just disappear. Like, it's possible he'll still be picked, but in niche situations where like you're up against a Fredrin and you just don't really have any hero that can deal with him, then yeah, you can pull out the Akai. But besides that, I think you just wouldn't really pick him anymore. It's kind of rough, because this is a lot of poke damage they're taking away. So yeah, I don't really agree with this one. Was it necessary to nerf Akai a bit? Yeah, I think so. Though honestly they could have gotten away without nerfing him too. I think it's fine if they nerf him a little bit, but this is not a little bit. Okay, needed some water there. Next up, Esmeralda. She's been gone from the meta for a while. Let's see what they've done. Slightly increased Esmeralda's early to mid-game performance. Base HP increased by about 200. That's a good amount. And 4 extra physical defense is really, really valuable, especially like in those first few levels in the EXP lane. Skill 1 cooldown reduced by 0.5 seconds and gives 100 extra base shield, so that adds another 100 base HP basically. And then skill 2 has extra slow effect. Okay, just generally a pretty solid upgrade to Esmeralda here, because she just was not tanky enough. Right, compared to like Uranus, even compared to like Paquito, the fact that Esme was losing lane to Paquito kind of tells you something, right? Esme is supposed to be a Paquito counter, but Paquito got buffed so much even after the nerf that he was winning lane against Esmeralda. So a buff to Esmeralda is very, very needed, but this is generally just tankiness, right? Now Esme does function largely off of tankiness, but I personally feel like it would have been nice if they gave her a little bit more damage. Cause Uranus is the hero that really plays off of durability. Esme actually cannot match Uranus's durability. She wins Uranus in lane through damage because she steals his shield and all of that. So while having extra durability does help, I actually think that a slight buff to damage would have been nice just to keep her up to date, because a lot of the strong EXP lane heroes right now are just kind of really strong. I'm thinking of Paquito most of all, of course. I think this could make Esme viable, especially like Jero said, Baxia got nerfed, that's one of her direct counters. And heroes like Harif are still quite popular, which are of course heroes Esme counters. The problem is I feel like Harif does so much damage that even this extra durability on Esme is not quite going to be enough. What this will impact the most is her ability to win lane. Right, because this is all early game HP and shield. So it allows her to win lane a little bit more. But that's why I said that like maybe it would have been better to buff her damage slightly so that it's easier for her to win lane early. Because Esme and Uranus have always played kind of similarly. So I feel like the big difference maker is that Uranus is pure bulk, while Esme is a little bit more of a bulky bruiser playstyle. And I think she was meta for a while because of that playstyle before they nerfed her. So they're probably a little bit hesitant to increase her damage too much because they don't want her to enter that state again where you just can never kill her. This is a nice buff, and the slow effect is genuinely quite big considering how spammable skill 2 is. So I do think it's possible for Esme to be played now, again, because like a lot of tanks are going away as well, so you might want to rely more on heroes that have shielding. So maybe we might see more of Esmeralda, but she has always been the type of hero that appears more depending on what heroes are meta. It's kind of similar to Akai, right? Where Akai becomes more popular if you see a lot of tanks, Esme becomes more popular if there's a lot of shield heroes, and if she is strong enough to deal with them. And up until now, she has not been strong enough to deal with them. I don't think this is really enough of a change to make that happen, but she could be a good fallback option if you don't really have anything else to fit the bill. So alright, slightly increase Nolan's sustainability, energy regen upon hitting an enemy with a rift. So extra 5 energy from hitting enemies. Not bad. Nolan has always been a hero that you kind of fall back to if all of the other assassins are gone. So this is just a nice quality of life improvement. And I do think that it will make a big difference when it comes down to extended team fights, because this 5 will add up, you know, especially if you hit people with multiple rifts and then you get lots of energy back. It might allow Nolan to be just a little bit more spammable, because he is still quite cooldown based, quite energy based. So this helps a little bit. I expect Nolan will still be picked up when other junglers are no longer viable, and since a lot of the tanks seem to be getting nerfed, we might see a little bit more Nolan, but so far I'm not really seeing a nerf to Suyo, and I think Nolan has a little bit of difficulty against Suyo. But he'll still be a solid like fallback. He is a backup plan if all the other good junglers are gone, so I think this is fine. Okay, what have they done for Aulus? This is a lot of text. Have they actually made him meta enough? To reinforce his role as a fighter reliant on sustained basic attacks, we've improved Aulus's sustain and ability to stay on targets while slightly reducing his mid to late game damage for balance. I get that MLBB wants to make sure that heroes don't become too busted when they buff them, but I really wish they would stop this thing where when they buff something, they have to nerf something else. You know, it's like, it's kind of like a monkey's paw situation. You wish for one thing, you get it, but it comes with a catch. You know, every time MLBB buffs a hero, they have to nerf something else. And yes, it's nice for Aulus to stick to people closer, but you're literally playing him to be strong mid to late game. So let's see what they've done here. New effect on passive, enhanced basic attack reduces target's movement speed by 15% for 1 second. Okay, not bad. Honestly, not bad. It definitely does make him a little bit more sticky. Enhanced basic attack base damage reduced. It's no longer 20 times hero level, it is 15 times hero level. So at max level, that is 5 times 14 minus 70 damage in the late game per auto attack, by the way. Like, yeah, he sticks on people easier, but you know what makes it so that you don't have to stick on people? If you kill them. You know what I mean? You don't have to stick on someone if they die. You know, and like minus 70 damage per auto attack in the late game is a lot, by the way. It's quite a lot. It does add up. That is several hundred damage that you're missing considering how quickly Aulus attacks in the late game. You know, I don't agree with this. I like the movement speed slow. I don't agree with this. I don't think it's worth it. You know, because even if he's able to stick to them closer, Aulus himself may die before he's actually able to kill anyone. That's always been the issue. Skill 2, new effect. First phase of fan shape damage grants 20% hybrid lifesteal. Okay, that's actually a sizable number. For 2.5 seconds as well is a good amount. First phase, but it's only for 2.5 seconds after the skill 2. And then the cooldown is 7 seconds. So basically they gave him extra lifesteal, but they also added that extra cooldown to him. No, I don't like it. I honestly think you could have kept him at 5 seconds because Aulus needs to stay alive. If you're going to make him like a sustained auto attacker that wants to stick on people, give him that lifesteal. Just let him lifesteal forever. You know, that's how you make heroes strong. Make them a little bit busted. And removed effect, first phase of fan shape damage reduces target's movement speed. Okay, so they took away the movement speed slow from skill 2 to the auto attacks, which I think is fine. It does make sense for his enhanced attacks to slow rather than his skill 2 to slow, because, you know, his enhanced attacks will last longer than his skill 2. But I think they could have kept this 5-second cooldown. Now, I guess it's because they're worried about the CDR. If Aulus builds CDR items, he might have permanent hybrid lifesteal, which could become kind of busted, especially if you add on the movement speed slow. But Aulus does have just issues in this meta. There's so much burst damage. He doesn't really out DPS marksmen unless he gets on top of them and bursts them instantly, which is why I'm thinking like the nerf to damage is going to affect him somewhat. And then ultimate slightly reduced backswing. Honestly, this is probably the biggest buff he gets. Because like his ultimate animations are very long, so reduced backswing on that is very nice. I like the slow, I like the lifesteal, but it does feel like they nerfed him a little bit in exchange for that. I'm not sure if that was necessary. I think it's okay for them to nerf the cooldown because with CDR it probably goes down to nearly permanent anyway. But the loss of damage in the late game is going to be felt a little bit. Now, he'll probably feel it more against tanks than squishies. So since tanks are getting nerfed as well, Aulus might feel a little bit better since, you know, if there's less HP you have to go through, then less damage will matter a bit less as well. I think enhanced basic attacks removing movement speed is actually quite big. This is actually a pretty big change when you really think about it. Cause Aulus gets a few enhanced basic attacks after every skill. I can't remember how many. Hold on. What the heck? When did they revamp this skin? The heck? When did they revamp that splash art? Is that new? What the heck? Okay, where's Aulus? Aulus. How many enhanced attacks does he get? Dealing damage adds a fighting spirit for up to 4 seconds. Each rank character's pack speed. At max fighting spirit, you get enhanced basic attack. Okay, yeah. So slowing is actually pretty notable because he's gonna be able to keep attacking you and you will just be slowed by 15% forever. But then at the same time, if you are nerfing tanks, that means that you might see more assassin heroes, and assassin heroes are less affected by slows because they have dashes. Because they have dashes, they have burst damage, they have iframes, right? And Aulus can't really deal with that. So I unfortunately feel like Aulus is still not going to be particularly popular, but at least he's going to feel a little bit better, right? I do think he will feel better. Maybe I'll try him out after this, because this probably does feel a good bit stronger than he was before. But I do kind of wish they didn't nerf his damage, or at least not by that much. Because, yeah, that is 70 damage per enhanced basic attack that he's missing at level 15 when his enemies are level 15 compared to before. Again, that adds up a lot. Okay, oh, Mincetar buff. Mincetar is so annoying in pubs though. Reduce the ultimate's early to mid-game cooldown and increase late-game damage. Wow. So his ultimate is now always 45 seconds, which you know what? I actually am okay with. Because Mincetar's ult is very strong, yes, but also easy to miss. Right? If the enemy team knows how to like not stick together, if they're able to iframe out of the ult before it connects or dash out before it connects, it just becomes useless because there's no like walls or anything keeping enemies inside. If you take like sprint or whatever, you can still get out. So I think it's actually perfectly fine for it to have a lower cooldown because 45 seconds is still actually on the higher echelon of ultimate cooldown timings. So I'm fine with that. And then ultimate's physical and bonus and attack effect ratio now rescaled from 30% to from 40% to 30 to 50%. So yeah, they want to see a little bit more of like damage slash bruiser Mincetar since it now inherits better ratios in the late game. And he's able to use his ult a bit more frequently. Honestly, just good buffs for Mincetar overall. You know how I said earlier that like whenever they buff a hero, they have to take something away? They decided not to this time. I guess it's because Mincetar is just never played. But then if that's the case, they could have just buffed Aulus without taking things away from him too. Because I think Mincetar is played in pubs a lot more than Aulus is. But yeah, generally, good buff to Mincetar. If we get to see more assassins return to the meta, Mincetar could be an option. But he does still have difficulty laning and he's not very good at roaming, and that's what makes it difficult. He's very good at stopping dashes, but he's a jack of all trades, king of none when it comes down to the different lanes that he can be played. And when you're at the pro level, you want a hero that is weak in one thing but just the best in another thing, right? And Mincetar doesn't really have that to his name right now. But he definitely feels stronger, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him from time to time. Okay, Argus! I thought after the previous updates that Argus would actually be somewhat viable, but then after reading like the woes of Argus mains on Reddit, turns out it's actually worse than before due to a few like stats. I can't remember which. So let's see if they've buffed him to help make up for that. We decided to improve Argus's early to mid-game combat and laning capabilities. The mighty fallen angel shouldn't be limited to the late game. Okay, sounds good. Demonic slash damage increased by 40 bit. Oh my god. Oh, the poor Argus mains. Oh, I thought us Ruby mains were having it rough. Oh, the Argus mains are being butchered. Oh, what are they doing to him? Holy shit, dude. They gave him an extra 40 base damage, but reduced 25% total physical scaling. And then they gave his demonic slash regen 40 extra base and took the scaling away. And then his skill 2 does more damage early by 60, which isn't even that much. Dude, what are you doing to him, MLBB? This is not a buff. This is not a buff. This is straight up not a buff. Argus is not designed to be strong early. He's an auto-attack hero, for God's sake! He's an auto-attack hero! Auto-attack, by definition, is a late-game archetype. They say he shouldn't be limited to the late game. That is not accurate! When you say it like this, you're saying, oh, we're gonna buff his early to mid, but keep his late game intact. No! That is not the impression. You have buffed his early to mid and butchered his late game. He has no scaling on his passive. Are you kidding me? He's not supposed to be strong early. He's supposed to be item dependent so that he can chase people down late game. Oh, I feel... Dude. Oh, Moonton doesn't understand that there's different types of fighters. It's like they see the word fighter and they're like, oh, he should be strong early, mid, weak, late. No! Auto attack fighters are like marksmen. They're supposed to be like marksmen or assassins. Look at Zilong! You think Zilong is strong early? Don't answer that. He actually can be sometimes. But Argus isn't! He's so easy to kite. And now he's got... You will never play Argus. You just should never play Argus. He's just bad. What does he do? He whacks you a few times and then you run away from him. He pops his ult and you run away from him. You wait for his ult to expire and then you kill him because he has no damage. He could be farming the entire game for his items and he just doesn't do the damage to make up for it. This is terrible. Now I could be wrong. I could be making this whole scene and it turns out Argus is now OP because of this. But I don't think so. Not this time. You know, I recognize that sometimes I could be wrong with my assumptions. I don't think so for this one. Why the F would you do that? Why would you take his... It's total too! Do you know how much scaling is total physical attack? Dude, if it's extra physical attack, like, it would still hurt. But this is total! Total is such a strong word. Total scaling is so strong, dude. Oh my god. Crazy, dude. I'm sorry, Argus. He is a fallen angel. Okay, we're moving on. Zeusin nerf, slightly reduced skill 2's cast range. Well, I guess that's fine. I feel like honestly we don't know how to nerf Zeusin. We don't know how to nerf Zeusin in a way that really matters without completely butchering her. Because like she's so useful. Even though she's a mage that does no damage, her skill 2 is just so valuable. Having a reduced cast range does help. 0.3 feels like a small amount, but it will make a difference sometimes. And like when you combine this with the nerf like before, where like she's not able to scout as easily, you could see it affecting her. But I'm pretty sure Zeusin is still gonna be top pick. She's just too valuable. The skill 2 is too good. It is one of the best skills in the game. It does so much for her. And it's so annoying to deal with. I'm pretty sure even with this nerf, Zeusin is still one of the best mages in the meta. Unless you want a damage mage, then you probably want something else. But Zeusin is just like, her utility is unmatched. Eudora, slightly reduced mana cost. Okay, honestly not bad. I think this is necessary because they made it so that her skill 1 was more spammable in the previous update, right? But she still had mana cost issues, which meant that she had like... And we know that Eudora doesn't really build Enchanted Talisman. She wants to go full burst so that she can actually kill people. So this is good, honestly. I think this is a perfectly fine buff. Makes it so that she can actually match the spammability of her skill 1 with mana. So yeah, I think that's fine. Perfectly fine. Melissa, skill 2 mana cost reduced as well. I think this will affect Melissa not too much because I don't really think she ran into mana issues too often. You know, unless fights were lasting really long. And sometimes they did, but often they didn't. So this is just a small quality of life improvement. Okay, all the hero updates. So overall, nerfs to tanks, and they're very necessary, but I also feel like they may have gone a little heavy-handed with some of them, especially Akai. Allus might be a bit better, Mincitar might be a bit better, Argus is dead. Like he wasn't dead before, now he's more dead. He was 6 feet in the ground before, now he's 12 feet in the ground. Okay, next up. Jungle area, creep, slightly increased early to mid-game gold from jungle area resources. Increased base gold reward of the Thunderfarer and Molten Fiend by 20%. So previously they did slightly nerf, I think? If I'm not wrong. I might be wrong. I might be remembering this incorrectly. But I feel like I have a recollection of them slightly nerfing the bounty you get from the buffs and buffing the bounty you get from the regular camps. So they've increased the buffs back by 20%. And they have also increased the regular camps by 15%. So jungle is still very important to claim. In fact, it's more important now. I think it's more important to make sure that you can get jungle camps than turtle. Maybe even. Kinda depends on what the numbers look like, but that could be a possibility there. So if we get 20% extra base gold from the buffs, I think we are gonna go... This is kind of weird to me. It feels like we're gonna go back to the old way where like you just start on buffs. Like the reason why you wouldn't start on buffs is because it would give you level 1. The gold was not too far off, and it was closer to the enemy jungle or in the enemy jungle, so it was easier to steal camps from them. If now the buff is more important, then all the junglers are just gonna start on the buff again, and we're just gonna go back to the old jungle pathing, which is like, alright, I thought we were trying to do something different. Yeah, this definitely can affect the trade, because sometimes you will see junglers who feel like they can't really contest turtle go for the enemy buff instead, like you steal the buff instead of trying to fight for turtle. Again, we need to see the numbers, because I can't really remember how much gold the turtle gives and how much gold the buff gives to really know whether it's worth it to do so, but it's more worth it now for sure. I think you will just go back to old jungle pathing, especially if tanks are nerfed so that they don't clear jungle as quickly now. You actually need to take a camp that's closer to your side so that your team is able to help you leash it early if you're playing a tank. And if you're playing an assassin, you probably don't want to risk invading anyway, since it's more valuable for you to secure your own jungle camps. So I think this could kind of revert the jungle changes a bit, you know? Now of course, we can still get level 1 off of the regular creeps, so we could still see some creativity. This basically opens up the option for like, okay, you can start on the buff if you want, but you can also start on a random creep camp if you want to path a different way. So you could say this opens up more options for the jungle too, but we will see, because part of the reason why jungle routes were opened up is because you had the safety net of being a tank jungle. If you are an assassin jungle, it's very risky for you to take an unorthodox path if it doesn't pay off. So I feel like, yes, there's a chance we could still see creativity in how you want to path, but I also see there being a chance where we just go back to the start on buff meta, which has been, you know, the classic MLBB meta since its incarnation. So okay, we'll see how that goes. And then we have more Mythical Honor Battlefield changes. Melissa skill 1 cooldown reduced by 0.5 seconds. Actually quite a lot, I will say. 0.5 seconds on wait, hold on. Skill 1 is not Muddles. Skill 1 is Dash, right? Or am I remembering wrong? I don't play Melissa. Let's just check that real quick to be sure. Yeah, skill 1 is Dash. Okay, you know what? Never mind. I thought that was Muddles cooldown. If it was Muddles cooldown, then like, okay, that's quite big because you can keep spamming Muddles on your opponent. Now, 0.5 second cooldown reduction on Dash is also quite big, but in the first place, Melissa doesn't really dash that often, you know, compared to heroes like Carry or Moskov. So, alright, sure, fine. I don't think that'll affect her too much. There's better heroes for poking early anyway. And then bug fixes issue with Atlas skill 1 cooldown. Interesting. I wonder what bug fix that is. But okay, so that is all the changes. Big nerfs overall to junglers. I think that now basically I'm sorry to say, everyone, I think best jungle hero in the game now, besides Suyo, it probably is Suyo. I'll say that best jungle hero in the game is probably Suyo in terms of like peaks. But in terms of consistency, right, I think the most consistent jungle hero in the game is Fredrin. Whoop-de-doo! As if he wasn't ever! Welcome back, my king! Like he never gave up his throne ever. He just shared it for a while and then took it again. Because like Baxia clears so a lot slower now. Akai clears a lot slower now. You know, we will probably see a little less tank jungle, but it also means that Fredrin is going to be contested in most games. Right? I think we're going to be seeing like Fredrin and Suyo in most games, because they didn't really affect other junglers. Yes, Nolan got buffed, but he has always been kind of a fallback hero as well. It kind of remains to be seen how good he will be. It depends on how the other lanes will adjust based on the situation. Because if the side lanes kind of adapt, like if we go back to assassin jungle meta, and then like the side lanes start, like we go back to bulkier EXP lane heroes, then Nolan also reduces a little bit in his effectiveness because there's one less lane for him to gank. So I don't know. I feel like it's still gonna be Fredrin. Yes, he got a big nerf in terms of 30% reduction in damage against creeps, but that's only on his skill 1. He still has all of his other abilities and cooldowns. Meanwhile, Baxia's main damage skill 2 got nerfed quite heavily. Akai can only hit 1 mark worth of damage as well. Like, Akai will still be good because he is the Fredrin counter, but good Fredrins know how to play against Akai as well, and Akai just doesn't do as much damage anymore. So yeah, Fredrin, hooray! And why the heck are they doing Argus like this, man? What did Argus do to them, dude? This poor guy! He's already a fallen angel. He's been through enough trauma in his life. So, yeah, those are my thoughts about the patch. I feel like overall the meta is still gonna be quite similar, but we might see a little bit less tanks. You know, like Fredrin is still gonna be up there. I think we'll see less Akai. Baxia is still possible, but we will start to see assassins come back. I think Suyo is still very, very strong unless there's a lot of magic on the enemy side. And there are still some pretty solid mages overall. Zusin got a slight nerf. I don't think it'll affect her too much. Oh, Hirara could be interesting now as well, since tanks are less evident. I think players are still taking some time to really readjust themselves with how Hirara is supposed to be played. I think she still has some possibility, but yeah, those are my thoughts about the patch. Let me know what you guys think as well about the changes. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like it? Do you not like it? You know, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.